this bad boy is actually completely free. Now, how's that possible? Well, as you level up in business, as you make more, you actually need to spend more. You actually have to spend money on tax. You start getting taxed. And that's why you see a lot of people packing up, flying over to Dubai, fucking off the Western world and choosing to live remotely because they don't want to pay money on tax. But essentially, just to be upfront with you, I only pay about 10, maybe 15% of the income I make on tax anyway. And the rest, like in Dubai, it's the same. You know, you end up paying 10%, right? There's a new law that's just come out that you're gonna have to pay tax anyway. And there are still some tax havens around the world, but the alternative is if you don't want to pack up and go somewhere around the world, across the world, you can just buy shit and put it on the company. So what happened for me was once you start making a certain amount in business, you end up having this thing called pay-G. So I think it's when you're nearing $1 million or something a year, you end up having to prepay your tax the following year, like a quarter in advance, right? Every quarter. And so that happened to me. Plus, I was already paying tax for the previous year or something in the time, like the accountant sort of stuffed something up. And I had a massive tax bill coming up. So you buy shit, right? And that is a complete tax deduction on the company. Whereas if you're an employee, you just don't have those types of benefits. All right, now I want to make one thing very, very clear. I'm not a tax specialist. I'm not an accountant. I'm just a dude, a regular guy who got good at digital marketing and made some money with it and is teaching other people how to do it as well. But what I do know through being a business owner and doing this thing for a while is that there are certain ways, different sort of ways to play the game. Okay, this is a game. If you make money, you're gonna have to pay some money for the infrastructure that you live by, the tax, right, of the country. Unless you pick up ship and you just go somewhere else, right? Which I think is problematic as well. I mean, if you have kids, you want to actually build a real life, you're not going to find that easy to do at all. So you play the game in the country in which you're from. And it doesn't really matter what the tax rate is, because here's the thing, as long as you spend enough, then you'll be able to deduct that tax anyway. And so what a company is, what a business is, it's actually a vehicle for you to live your life, because you'll be spending money and making money, but you'll be spending money on the stuff that you want for yourself, like whether that's a car, a holiday. You can even deduct meals and stuff like that in the right context, right? There's a lot more stuff that you can do as a company, even in a country like Australia, where that has one of the highest tax rates in the world and one of the highest cost of livings in the entire world. So let's talk about for a second the difference between being an employee versus being a business owner. Now, as an employee, you are already paying tax. You see people with quote unquote good jobs, doctors, right, lawyers, corporate professionals and stuff. Their income might say 100K, on paper. But once you kind of look at the tax and everything, they're actually only taking home like 65K. And that's because they're being taxed, right? And they've got fees and they've got super and they've got all this stuff. Now, as a business owner, the main difference is that 100K that you make, you get to control what you spend it on, and then you can deduct what you've spent it on off the tax. So you'll actually keep more of the 100K because you'll buy stuff that you own, as opposed to just flat out paying it in tax, right, automatically. And so looking at like where the world is right now, the cost of living, all that type of stuff, right? It's expensive, right, in the world. And I don't think that there's any, looking at it, I don't think that you can actually build wealth with a regular job. It'll be freaking difficult here in Australia. You're gonna need, especially if you want kids and stuff, like you're gonna need both people working full time. And even then you're gonna be paying a boatload in tax. You have no scale potential to your income. What you buy isn't always tax deductible. It's a lot harder, at least. Not everything's tax deductible, but it's a lot harder, to just buy shit that you actually need. And so that's the main thing that I think a lot of people don't understand is like your business can actually be a vehicle. We're saying that in a vehicle. It can actually be a vehicle for the type of life that you want, right? And I think it's a much superior vehicle than your average job. And I don't think that you need to go in and leave the country to try to escape tax, right? Because there's benefits to actually paying tax as well. Money at the end of the day is just digits, right? Digits on some sort of database somewhere that says, hey, this is how many credits, you have, right? But finance and money is a whole deep world, right? Obviously you've got tax, you've got all these things that you need to pay, but you also have borrowing capability. Like if you can, let's say, borrow money, and I know this is hard right now with the interest rate and everything, but if you can borrow money at a 5% repayment, but you can make 10% on it, then you have a way to double money, right? You have a way to make money. And so when you pay tax to some degree, your borrowing power increases. Whereas if you just make money and you leave the country and you don't pay any tax, you're basically you're a black hole. You know what I mean? Like no one knows exactly sort of who you are and what you've accomplished and your capabilities or your income or anything. And you can't actually borrow money, which makes things difficult. And to be honest with you, most of the wealth is built not by working and making money, but actually being able to work to a degree where you can borrow money, buy assets with that money that will appreciate, over time. That's where I've made the most amount of wealth. This, however, this car, this is not an appreciating asset. It is good for quality of life though. You get in, you drive down here every morning, we have coffee, we're chilling, we're thinking about the day, we're planning, we're in a nice ride, right? And we're here for a ride. It's going to be a hell of a ride. So it's good for the mental, gets you pumped up, for the day. And there's a certain value to that kind of like transcends money. Like it's not all about money at the end of the day. Either way, this car was literally free. If I look at it, like I would have had to pay money to the tax man instead of get this car. So I just chose to get this car. Because either way, the money was going to leave, to be paid in tax. Now it's just being put into a car. So you're still better off, as a result of that. Just sharing some thoughts. Hopefully it was useful. Catch you soon. Bye.
So it's been over 5 years since I quit my 9-to-5 and I swore to never go back. I left to start a business, a digital marketing agency, which is a simple business model where you help other business owners grow, right? You get them more customers online. It doesn't take much to start, but I did it during one of the hardest freaking periods of my life, learning how to get them results, making deals happen, balancing it all as well with being a dad, but it paid off in the end. Because like it or not, we live in an online world. I mean, look around, people are constantly on their phones. It's called the attention economy. That's where all the money's going. So digital marketing is a skill that taps into that you can learn to work for yourself and you can do it from anywhere. I'm on a mission to pass down the knowledge for others, right, who are also trying to make it in this world and for my kids as well. Honestly, I'm still figuring stuff out, but if you give me a follow, I promise to share stuff that I've actually tried and tested and stuff that will help you win because the world's changing, whether we like it or not. It's time to get the skills. It's time to play the game.